This is a modern lawnmower. This is a vintage lawnmower. This is my overgrown front yard. Which one do you think will do a better job cleaning it up?
Now, to be fair, this mower is actually pretty awesome, but it just wasn't designed to handle this kind of wild and rough landscape. But you know what was?
Meet Elsa. No, I didn't name her. Yes, that's actually her name. You see, Elsa isn't my goat. I rented her. From a guy on Craigslist. I know, that sounds pretty crazy, but if you're willing to invest a few minutes of your time, it might make a whole lot more sense by the end of this video. This is the story of how Elsa spent a weekend helping me clean up my yard. Any of my YouTube subscribers and some of my frustrated neighbors would tell you that my yard always looks a little wild. This is very much intentional because I am building a food forest and that requires healthy soil. What many folks don't realize is a key to healthy soil is having a diversity of plants actively growing in your soil at all times. A growing plant will pump sugar out of its roots and into the soil. This sugar supports the entire soil ecosystem. So to maintain this ecosystem, I plant a mixture of seeds, often called a cover crop, every spring and every fall. Despite what most HOAs mandate, cover crops don't want to be manicured to a height of 3 inches. What they do want is to grow. And yes, this means for part of the year my yard looks like Fern Gully. All the same, I've been successful with this practice for 3 reasons. 1, my wife is awesome. 2, I don't have an HOA. And 3, I only get a letter from code compliance when I let the cover crop get taller than 3 feet. Which it is right now. And this is how I met Elsa. A Craigslist ad for $25 a day, 1 quick trailer ride to the pet store, and 1 pink dog collar later, I found myself with a goat in my front yard. Why did I do this again? Oh yes, that's right, soil health. While most folks might have just gotten a bigger lawnmower, there is something that a living grazing herbivore can provide that a mower never could. Brown gold. Plants evolved in the presence of animals that graze them. Some of these animals use a process called rumen fermentation. The word rumen is thought to derive from an ancient word that means to belch, for obvious reasons. The rumen is a specialized chamber of the stomach that uses bacterial fermentation to help digest food before passing it deeper into the GI tract. This helps ruminant herbivores unlock the nutrients in the plants they graze. Goats, sheep, and cows all use a similar process. The bacteria that help digest the plant matter wind up being excreted in the ruminant poop. These microbes improve soil health when they are mixed into the soil by little stomping hooves. And that was what I was after. The hope was that Elsa would eat my cover crop. The reality was she ate whatever she wanted. She took particular interest in my climbing roses and a plant commonly called a strawberry tree. If left unsupervised, she would have certainly killed both. I did my best to guide what she ate with the use of a spiral dog stake and a chain with adjustable links. Within the chain radius, I also did my best to protect my small fruit trees with the use of plastic tree trunk protectors. In totality, I would say these tactics were fairly successful. While Elsa was grazing, I took the time to mulch some of the taller plants that were obviously out of reach for her. I mulch every spring with an electric mulcher that I bought online. Here you see me going through some winter-killed Bolivian sunflower. Although mechanical mulching lacks the biology that a ruminant animal can provide, it is still helpful to return these plant nutrients to the soil. It helps retain moisture and promote fungal growth in the soil. Here's some mulch from a year ago. Within our first full day together, I learned something about Elsa. The flattering, albeit frustrating truth was that as soon as I left her side, Elsa would get terribly lonely and stop eating. This was the basic theme of our weekend together, and although it was quite adorable, it meant that she didn't do as much eating or pooping in the areas of my yard I was hoping to focus her efforts. It was too heartbreaking to have a crying goat chained up alone at the front of my yard, so when it was time to clean the chicken coop, Elsa came with me. As you can see, she is more concerned with keeping me in her sights than she is with eating that lush winter ryegrass. I figured out that she grazed best if I hung out close to her. When I ran out of things to mulch, I even resorted to inviting my neighbor over to hang out in my yard with a goat. As long as I stayed by her side, she grazed much more. I don't know if Elsa has separation anxiety or if this is just how goats are. If you have experience with goats, please feel free to educate us down in the comments on how common this behavior is. Whatever the reasons Elsa had for wanting me around, I learned that hanging out with a goat can actually be profoundly relaxing. Kind of like staring into a fire. I'll let you be the judge though. You know what Elsa doesn't have? Thumbs. But you do. And if you would be willing to just click that little thumb down there, it would help fulfill Elsa's lifelong dream of starring in a successful YouTube video. If you won't do it for me, do it for Elsa.
Alright, so now that I've had 3 days with lovely Elsa here, I have some pointers for other people out there that might want to copy this and some ideas for the future. I think the next time I do this, I have a much more well-formed plan, and I'm pretty confident it's going to work really well next time. Let's review what I would do differently next time.
Lesson 1. Goats are social. I have read that goats are very social animals. The general advice is that one should graze them in groups. Part of Elsa's lonely behavior was likely due to the fact that she was the only goat in my yard. The trouble is that Elsa required almost constant supervision to prevent her from killing my plants, and she was only one goat. Trying to manage 4 or 5 goats would be like playing whack-a-mole with my forest garden held as collateral. Right now I still have a lot of very small fruit trees that would likely die if a goat were to nibble them. To wrap each and every one of them in a plastic protector would be a bit tricky, but it is my long-term plan to do just that. In several years, when my fruit trees are a bit bigger and stronger, I will get a small group of goats and try this whole experiment a second time. Lesson 2. Goats don't like chains. Elsa did fairly well being chained to a stake for brief periods of time. You could tell she didn't love it though. She frequently got tangled around trees and just seemed generally annoyed. If she had been a male, my guess is that this behavior would have been even more obvious. In the future, I plan to use cattle panels and T-posts to make a modular corral to keep the 4 or 5 goats in the area I want them to focus on. This will avoid having to chain a group of annoyed goats next to each other. Lesson 3. Rome wasn't grazed in a day. I expected too much grazing out of one tiny goat. In the future, I will have more goats and I will graze them for a longer period of time. The goal is to have them eat the cover crop down pretty drastically and then rest the plants for the remainder of the year so they can recover. This is often called rotational grazing. Alan Savory is a name worth Googling if you want to read more about the topic. I'll put a link to some of his work down in the description. And the final lesson was this. Don't expect a goat to do all of your yard work. By the end of the weekend, it was clear that Elsa wasn't going to eat everything I had hoped, but the silver lining was that she made a great companion while I got out my mechanical yard equipment and finished the parts she had no interest in grazing. I need your help. If you found this video even the least bit informative, it would help me continue my eccentric work if you would please take the time to click the subscribe button. If you think this content is worth spreading, please consider sharing this video with any of your friends that like goats or yards or even lawnmowers. If this video does well, I will have Elsa back again for another video, and next time, she will have friends with her. I want to thank you folks for watching another episode of Suburban Biology. I'll see you all in the next one.
just got your own plans every time. Hey, Elsa, seriously, this is for you, girl. This is for you. I know, you hate the camera. It's okay, it's okay. Ah.